Alright, this is Block 2, Section 5, the section beginning the Venezuelan Crisis and including the Drago Doctrine and the Roosevelt Corollary. We've seen several times before that many of the Latin American countries were heavily indebted to European countries, European governments, and European banks. In 1902, Venezuela had one of these periodic debt crises that seemed to strike Latin American countries very often back then. England, Germany, and Italy jointly got together and sent their navies to blockade the Venezuelan ports. Venezuela had failed to make payment on these debts. 1902, Teddy Roosevelt's president, big stick diplomacy, kind of feeling good after the Spanish-American War, and Teddy Roosevelt invokes the Monroe Doctrine and says, hey look, Europe, back off, back away, you don't have any right to come and blockade the ports of a fellow American republic. Back off, the United States will take care of this for you. So respecting this newfound American power, the European countries listened to the United States and kind of backed off. If anyone was going to be pressuring Venezuela to pay its debts, it was going to be the United States, by golly. That was added by a jurist from Argentina by the name of Luis Drago, and he came up with something called the Drago Doctrine, which the United States strongly backed. And the Drago Doctrine very simply said European countries could not use force to collect debts, and they could not threaten force to collect debts. And that became part of international law in 1907. And after 1907, European countries are no longer sending battleships to South American countries in order to make them pay their debts back. This whole thing, this big stick diplomacy, the Venezuelan crisis, the Panama Canal, is the intervention in the Dominican Republic, the intervention in Haiti. This all kind of comes together under what's known as the Roosevelt Corollary. A corollary is an addition to something formal. The thing that's formal is the Monroe Doctrine. We have the Monroe Doctrine. Roosevelt's corollary to it is an addition to the Monroe Doctrine. Monroe Doctrine, if you go back to US 1, and you should remember this, and this is going to be on the AP test, Monroe Doctrine says that European countries cannot come in and establish new colonies in the New World. The New World, Latin America, the Latin American republics, are under the protection of the United States. And if anyone's going to be acting as a police force in Latin America, it's going to be the United States. That's Roosevelt's corollary. That you, Europeans, stay out. If anything's going to happen down in Latin America, it's going to be our doing. The United States is doing. And this Roosevelt corollary came to the front very easily, or very obviously, in the case of the Dominican Republic in 1905. In 1905, the Dominican Republic was under European pressure to pay its debts, and Roosevelt wanted no part of that. Roosevelt did not want the European countries imposing themselves on the Dominican Republic. So Roosevelt imposed himself on the Dominican Republic. He sent in American troops, took control of its customs duty, its tariffs, which was where most of the Dominican Republic's revenues came from. So Roosevelt kind of marched in with American troops and said, hey, we're here to help. We will run your country's finances. We will collect all the customs duties. We will impose our own financial restrictions. We will impose our own economic reforms. This is civilizational confidence from the United States. We know what the hell we're doing. You don't. Let us show you how to do it. And lo and behold, the debts got paid. There's something in it for the United States too, believe it or not. The Dominican Republic and a lot of these other countries start dealing only with and trading with and making money with the United States and not with Europe. On the surface, okay. People in Europe are happy, they get their money back. The countries are no longer in debt. The United States has imposed modern standards of government economy, but very few people in the Dominican Republic, as we can possibly imagine why, very few people in the Dominican Republic were not big fans of the United States interfering with their affairs. The United States did this for economic gain, yes, and to piss off the Europeans, yes, but also, and this is really important to remember, the United States thought that they were genuinely obliged to help. That the people in the Dominican Republic could certainly learn from the United States, and that we're going to go in there and show them how to run a modern country. And to a large part, that's exactly what the United States did, and to a very large part, all it did was piss off people in the Dominican Republic who said, who the hell are you to tell us how to run our own affairs? But that's the Roosevelt corollary, that any action that has to go on in Latin America, the United States is going to take care of that action. And it's just one more of a million different examples of this expansion of the United States power into the wider world.